face, without panic, the reality of our times. The fact that atom bombs may someday be dropped on our cities. And let us prepare for survival by understanding the weapon that threatens us. An atom bomb destroys or injures in three ways: by blast, heat, and radioactivity. The blast of an atom bomb is its most important destructive agent. In Japan, whole buildings were flattened by its force. However, many buildings of sturdy construction, even though close to the explosion, remained standing. The principal dangers of blast are flying glass and debris, the fires it may start, and the danger of being crushed in collapsing buildings. The atom bomb destroys by heat. People caught in the open as far as 2 miles away suffered flash burns. Yet, protection could have been easily achieved. Here, a bridge post and rail shielded the surface behind it. Any solid material afforded similar protection. The third weapon of the bomb is radioactivity, thrown off at the instant of explosion. However, the majority of people exposed to radiation recovered completely, including a large percentage of those who suffered serious radiation sickness. Today, they lead normal lives. They bear children. Their children are normal. These, then, are the weapons of the atom bomb that we must protect against: blast, heat, and radioactivity. Our cities are prime targets for atomic attack, but mass evacuation would be disastrous. An enemy would like nothing better than to have us leave our cities empty and unproductive. If an emergency should come, our factories will be battle stations. Production must go on if we are to win. Our offices and homes will also be posts of duty, not to be deserted. With the knowledge of the first atomic explosions to guide us, our chances for survival will be far better than those of the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, if we act on our knowledge and are prepared. The first job is to look over your own home for shelter possibilities. If you live in a private home that is well built, the cellar is the safest place to be. The lower you get, the more barriers there are likely to be against blast, heat, and radioactivity. Select the basement wall nearest the probable target area of your city. If the house is blown over, it will most likely fall away from this wall. If you have a workbench or strong table big enough to get under, move it into your shelter area near a wall or strong supporting column. If the time comes when you actually have to take shelter, lie under the table. If you live in a home that has no basement, choose a shelter area without windows on the ground floor. An interior hallway is probably best. In time of emergency, the shelter area should be cleared of mirrors and other objects that might cause injury. If you live in an apartment house, rules for taking shelter will be posted in your building. Learn them. Also, learn the location of public shelters in areas where you work or frequently visit. There are many things you can begin doing right now. Fireproof housekeeping is one, so clean up that attic. Keep waste in covered containers. Don't let trash pile up in the yard. Set aside a small supply of canned goods. They're safe from radioactivity. Have a good flashlight on hand. Electric lights may go out. Keep a first aid kit and learn how to stop bleeding. Make a habit of keeping a bottle of fresh water handy. A radio will be important for receiving vital instructions. Finally, prepare the shelter area and collect all necessary shelter equipment. In case of an actual raid or test drill, the alert will be a warbling siren blast, lasting 3 minutes. Once you hear this, act fast.
fellow citizens of the United States, this is a formal warning. The collapse of your country is imminent. American citizens need to stock up on water, food, medical supplies, and most importantly, arm themselves. The United States is teetering on the edge of financial ruin, and the downgrade of your debt is inevitable. You are going up to $16 trillion in debt very soon, and it's going to be a lot higher than that by the end of 2016. When you have debt in the 21 to 22 trillions, you are talking about a downgrade no matter how you cut it. Ballooning debt and a credit downgrade aren't the only worries for your country. The official unemployment rate isn't a real number. The real figure is closer to 15 to 16%, and some economists believe the rate to be as high as 21%. According to economic projections, starting as soon as next year, you will see a 50% unemployment rate, a 90% stock market drop, and 100% annual inflation. So this is a wake-up call for those unprepared, or unwilling, to acknowledge an ugly truth: your country's financial rescue devised in Washington has failed miserably. The United States will soon be entering another Great Depression. And only a small percentage of you are prepared for that to happen. The truth is that the majority of Americans won't last longer than a month on what they have stored in their homes. Most of you are used to going to supermarkets for what you need. You need to consider what would happen if you were suddenly not able to do that. All it would take for the entire United States to resemble New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina would be for a major war, a terror attack, a deadly pandemic, or a massive natural disaster to strike at just the right time and push the teetering U.S. economy over the edge. The impending disaster will most likely come in the form of a false flag during the Jade Helm exercises. Once you stop listening to the mainstream media lies, you should be able to see very clearly that your society is more vulnerable now than it has ever been. We have a world that is full of lunatics in positions of power, and when one of them decides to set off a nuclear, chemical, or biological weapon in a major city, it will paralyze that entire region. War could erupt in the Middle East at literally any moment, and when it does, the price of oil will double or triple, at least, and most of the entire world will be forced into the conflict. In addition, there is the constant threat that the outbreak of a major viral pandemic will kill tens of millions of people around the globe and paralyze the economies of the world. But even without all of that, the truth is that the United States economy is going to collapse. So just think of what will happen if one, or more, of those disasters does happen on top of all the economic problems that you are having. Keeping all of this in mind, Jade Helm 15 looks less like a drill and more like the preparation for the inevitable collapse and chaos facing the United States.
Conspiracy. Many Americans still use that word when talking about the assassination of President Kennedy 55 years ago this past Thursday. And while we're talking conspiracy, what about the moon? Did we really land there? There are plenty who think not. So why, after all these years, do all these conspiracy theories persist? Our cover story is reported by Susan Spencer.